you and I know there's no going back. Any more than Reenie and I could reverse the calendar and go back to the time before our loved ones had been struck by cancer. Transition is not new. I can imagine that Adam, as he's walking out of the garden, turns to Eve and said, "I believe we are in transition." And it's been that way ever since. It's not all bad. Much of it is good. We were in the car with my son, Al, the other day, and we decided to go to a restaurant and have dinner out, and Reenie says, "Gee, I wish I had brought my phone book. I could make a call and make a reservation." And my son looked at her with mild contempt, and he said, "Reenie, you've got the entire worldwide internet in your telephone." But for those of us who grew up with black and white TVs and vinyl records, you know what a record is? Kind of hard to make the adjustment to that. I like the new technologies. I love the new technologies. I have a DVD of a program that has been seen on several television stations, including here in Detroit, documenting the bucket list trip that I made. I'm not going to get into that this morning, but any of you who want to attend my breakout session this afternoon, we're going to talk about flying my airplane solo and camping for 30 days, 7,400 miles to celebrate my 74th birthday. It was the ultimate bucket list trip. And because of the new technology, I was able to take a handheld, high-definition Sony camera, just about that big, and document the entire trip. And when I got back, I used the same equipment that the studios in Hollywood used for Spider-Man 2, an iMac. And I sat down in my little home studio and I downloaded my video and I wrote a script and I edited it, I put it together, I produced it in its final form, and it went on television. One person. 15, 20 years ago, it would have taken at least 20 people to do what I was able to do because of the new technology. Now, we have a home edition of that video. We're going to have an autograph signing, a book signing for any of you who might be interested in some of my books immediately following this speech. And it will be on the table, and we're going to show part of it at the breakout section. So some of the things are good, but you know, our memories, we have a way of sort of forgetting the bad and remembering the good from the so-called good old days. My mother, bless her, remembered me as the perfect child. My baby sister had a somewhat different recollection of how I had made her life pretty miserable at times. I grew up in the Cold War. We worry about terrorism. Any of you old enough to remember when the teachers made you get under the desk to simulate what you would do in case of a nuclear attack? I never quite understood how a wooden school desk was going to protect you from an atom bomb, but that was part of the ritual that we went through back in the day when we knew that within 30 minutes a Russian-launched missile attack could incinerate our country, could destroy our major cities, and could end life and civilization as we have known it. We lived with those fears. As bad as things are today on the international front with our concerns about Iran getting a nuclear bomb, our concerns about North Korea, our concerns about the turmoil in the Middle East and about terrorism, I don't think any of us go to bed at night wondering if we'll wake up the next morning or if our civilization will be destroyed. So in many ways, the good old days weren't that good. In 1963, I was working for ABC in New York. There were no African Americans in our newsroom. No African Americans covering the White House. Now one is living there. There were no women in our newsroom except for a couple of secretaries. Now we have a woman anchoring the ABC Evening News, and you find women and African Americans in positions, journalism, throughout all of the channels, all of the cables, and all of the local stations. I think